Hey there, everyone. Joshua Short with you alongside Lauren Moss. We are standing by. As you can see here, we've got a news conference that is about to be underway with the mayor of Hammond. This has to do with the Bears.
Of course, the big news today, will the Chicago Bears be moving to Hammond, Indiana? Now, it's not exactly a finalized deal just yet, but a lot of things are pointing to the possibility of that happening.
And this is a major step. What happened today, we're going to talk about it more in detail. Let's dip into this news conference right now.
She's the council president, Janet Videz. She's the councilwoman at large. Thank you very much. Hammond's 6th District Councilman, Scott Rakos. Thank you very much, Councilman. Hammond's 3rd District Councilman, our host councilman here, Barry Tyler. Good to see you, Councilman. He represents the entire city as well. Councilman at large, Dan Spitali. This is my councilman. He represents Hammond's 5th District, which is where Woodmar and where Purdue Northwest is, Councilman Dave Warple. Last, but certainly not least, Hammond's 2nd District Councilman, Alfonso Salinas. Good to see you, Councilman. Thank you. Hope I didn't miss anybody. I want to start off with the prepared statement, and then I'll be ready to answer questions. For those of you that heard my statement in the State House earlier, this will be somewhat reminiscent of it, so please bear with me. I wanted to first off welcome everybody and say happy 219 Day. It's a fake holiday we made up 10 years ago. It's our area code, and I have a feeling this 219 Day 2026 is going to go down as the best 219 Day in the history of the area code. So happy 219 Day. Today I testified in Indiana State House Ways and Means Committee on Senate Bill 27. I want to thank Governor Mike Braun. You know, thank you. In 2026, it's not often you see people working across party lines. And you certainly don't see it very often coming from elected leaders, the governors and things of that nature. Governor Mike Braun never let politics get in the way of this deal. He was a champion from the moment this became available. And mayors can't do this on their own. You need help from the state leadership. Governor Mike Braun, thank you very much. Thank you, Governor Mike Braun. I'm a Democrat, and I'm a Democrat in a red state, and sometimes you don't get an opportunity to work with people on the other side of the aisle. So I've known a lot of these people through the media and over the years. A guy like Todd Houston, who's Indiana Speaker of the House. Could we give him a... Todd represents Fishers, Hamilton County. He made it a point, first off, to carry this bill. Speakers don't do that. They don't carry bills. Todd Houston carried this bill. Todd Houston made it a point a couple weeks ago to come to Hammond, Indiana, and meet with elected leaders from Lake and Porter County and tell them what the score was. This deal does not happen without Todd Houston exerting his leadership like that. So thank you to Todd Houston, Indiana Speaker of the House. I'm going to try not to cry, so bear with me. Senator Ryan Mishler and I got elected at the same time. His career went off in one direction, I went off in another. I've been mayor for 22 years here in Hammond. Senator Mishler's been in the Indiana Senate, and he's become one of the leaders of the Indiana Senate. This is a guy that when he carries bills, they get it done. When Senator Mishler picks up a bill, that bill's going to pass. And when Senator Mishler picked up Senate Bill 27 and carried it, I knew that we were well on our way. So Senator Ryan Mishler, thank you very much. Representative Earl Harris, he's one of ours. He's from the region. His father represented Northwest Indiana for decades. Earl has done a great job. His father was one of the original proponents of bringing the Bears to Northwest Indiana, and his father's no longer with us. Representative Earl was a great guy. We all miss him. His son has picked up the mantelpiece. He passed a bill last year that established a sports tourism agency here in Northwest Indiana, and I know today was a very special day for Earl Harris to see what happened in the Indiana State House happen. So thank you very much to Representative Earl Harris. And last but not least, Jim McGough. I don't think he'd want me to mention him the way I'm mentioning him. This guy has worked thousands of hours on this project, making it happen. This guy gets deals done. He's done Lucas Oil Stadium. Jim McGough, this deal does not happen without his leadership and the leadership of the Indiana Finance Authority. So thank you very much to Jim McGough as well. As I told the Ways and Means Committee today, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for the city of Hammond. Hammond is ready to partner with the state and the Chicago Bears and do whatever it takes to make this project a success and to welcome the Bears to Hammond, Indiana. The Ways and Means Committee voted 24-0 today to advance this bill. I've been watching the General Assembly my whole career. You can't get 24 state reps to agree on many things. They agreed today, Republicans and Democrats alike, to spend billions of dollars in Hammond, Indiana, to bring a multi-billion-dollar, world-famous NFL franchise to our state, making us one of the few states in the country with 2 NFL teams. Indiana's headed in the right direction, and I want to thank every member of the Ways and Means Committee today for doing what they did. The move by the state of Indiana and the Bears tells the rest of the country that Indiana is not just keeping up, it's leading. Although the location has not been determined, we're not going to talk about that because it's not me to talk about it. This is the Bears project, and when they're comfortable and ready to talk, they're going to talk about it. But basically, Senate Bill 27 is important to the city of Hammond because it defined the term city as the city of Hammond, Indiana. I know we've seen a lot of proposals coming from other municipalities and even other states that decided to jump into this ordeal. All along, we knew that Hammond was the chosen location, but we couldn't say anything. Today, I was finally freed in Senate Bill 27, defined the term as city. And those of you that know me know I like to talk. So the past couple months has been really hard on me, so I'm finally free, and thank you all for coming. But it lays out a solid frame. Senate Bill 27 also lays out a solid framework for the state's commitment to bringing the Bears to Hammond. The Bears today in their press release mentioned their commitment to finishing the due diligence to fulfill their vision and make a site near Wolf Lake and Hammond their future home, and to build a world-class stadium there. This legislation sets out and establishes the framework for the Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority and the Stadium Board, where Hammond and other governmental entities have representation to help set up property acquisition, finance, leasing, construction, and operation of the stadium once built. This legislation also sets out and establishes the framework for the Northwest Indiana Professional Sports Development Area in Hammond. Our redevelopment commission is ready and prepared to move this forward and to establish it per state statute. This allows an area to include a stadium, parking, training facility, facilities to manage and operate the team. This legislation sets out and establishes Northwest Indiana Stadium Developed District in Hammond that operates much like a TIF district does. And as the Speaker of the House pointed out today, this framework is not foreign to Indiana. It's the exact same way that Indiana got the Colts deal done with Lucas Oil Stadium, as well as the Pacers deal done. So for Hammond, Indiana, Northwest Indiana is being treated exactly as they treated Indianapolis when they got these types of deals done, which I know makes us all feel really good. Of course, the state's going to spend over $1 billion on this proposal, and it's going to require payback. Hammond, there will be taxes on the people that enter this facility. Hammond is expected to pass an admissions tax that will apply to everybody that enters the facility to help pay back this $1 billion. Lake County Innkeepers tax, so the people that come to Hammond and stay the night, that tax is going to go up. The Lake County Food and Beverage tax is supposed to be instituted, and I know county officials have been briefed on this, as well as a Porter County Food and Beverage tax, which is the same model that they used in Marion County and the surrounding counties when they built Lucas Oil Stadium. This proposal is fair. It's an amazing opportunity for our city. It's going to create thousands of jobs. The Bears themselves is thousands of jobs, not to mention the construction jobs that go into the stadium, the parking facilities around the stadium, and the ancillary development that's going to come, and it's going to come. I've heard a lot of people say, you know, Mayor, I've read a lot of smart studies from people, and they say these stadiums don't benefit the area they're located in. I'm willing to give it a shot, because I tell you what, I think a lot of these places, if you're in New York and you say, yeah, what does the stadium do for us here? Or if you're in Chicago, you already got a theater district. You already got hotels. You got all this great development. I have a feeling when we locate this to Hammond and we make this whole development over there, you're going to see the same types of things that develop in downtown Chicago start to develop in Hammond. And it's going to make a major difference on the quality of life of our residents, on our city, and our state. I want to thank everybody for being here, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Congratulations, Mayor.
Thank you. This is a happy day. Thank you guys for being here. So I'm going to get your questions, I promise. So, yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Hi.
Hello to you. So this afternoon we had a chance to be here on the ground talking to residents. I know you mentioned some of the taxes. Will any of the tax burden actually fall on property owners in the area? And what will be your response to those who fear that it may fall on their children?
Not directly. But there will be, I imagine, property values increasing, which raises your taxes, because in Indiana, we are taxed in our homes at 1% of your home's value. So if you have a $100,000 home, you get property taxes of $1,000 a year. If your home increases in value to $200,000, your taxes are going to go up to $2,000. But your property went up $100,000 in value, and I realize there's people that are struggling to make ends meet. But, you know, I think it's a good thing when property values rise, but unfortunately that also drags up your tax rate as well. But nothing directly, ma'am, to answer your question.
Mayor, do you think some still feel that this could still be some type of leverage for the team to eventually pursue the deal in Arlington Heights?
Yes, ma'am.
What are your thoughts on that?
Initially, this has been a process. I've been involved in this since the holidays. Okay, I'm not going to be specific, but I'll have to be honest with you. Early on, I was very skeptical. But anytime you have an amazing opportunity in economic development, you pursue. And we pursued. And there was one day when property owners were being notified by the state of Indiana that they wanted to acquire their property for this deal. That's when it started to get real for me. And I don't want to be specific, but there is going to be property acquisition involved in this process. And there's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure that's going to be involved in this. Hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure improvements to that area involved in this. But so when people were starting to be contacted by the state of Indiana, that's when I felt that it was real. And you know, at the end of the day, if the Chicago Bears spend $10 million in Hammond and they end up saving $1 billion in Illinois, I can't control that. That was a good investment by the Bears. But if Illinois can match our deal, I don't know if they will, but let's say they match. Let's say we have $1 billion on the table and Illinois puts $1 billion on the table. I think 9 times out of 10, the Bears pick Indiana because we're a better business climate. And for the next 30 or 40 years, Indiana is going to be in a better position than Illinois. And I think the Bears, as any big business, are looking to save money. So I think they're going to choose Indiana, personally. Yes, ma'am.
Can you speak to essentially what the Wolf Lake area has to offer, especially because I know Gary was in the mix, Portage was in the mix. Why is it Hammond that you think is now where they're trying to move forward?
Okay. Location. Let's start with that. All right. I think for the Bears, I can't speak for the Bears, but if I was running the Bears, I would want to be as close as possible to Soldier Field. But if you could be only 20 miles from Soldier Field and get all the amazing advantages Indiana offers to businesses, why wouldn't you put your toe over the line, get all the business advantages that Indiana offers, and you're still a bike ride away from Soldier Field? I ride my bike to Soldier Field, so so I think that's to answer your question. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What percentage, if you have it, what percentage roughly of this will fall specifically on the people of Hammond versus Lake County residents? Is there a difference in there? What can you give any sort of specific percentage?
I cannot, but I could tell you that the model that is being used in this is just like the model they used in Lucas Oil, which is that I don't think that Speaker Houston, Senator Mitchell, or Governor Brown are looking at this as a Hammond project. They're looking at this as a Northwest Indiana project. And as such, the mayor of Valparaiso today testified in the House that it's going to help his city. And Valparaiso's 30-something miles that way. And the mayor, the Republican mayor, went down to the State House to testify on Hammond's behalf. So he sees benefit out there in Valparaiso. So, yes, sir.
Mayor, there's been talk about perhaps there being tolls on some of the expressways here, the Borman, I-65. Is this part of that package? And what's your message to the Bears? Do they now make a decision on whether to commit to Arlington Heights or to Hammond?
First off, we already have a toll road. And I'm almost certain there's no new tolls that are going to be required in this, as far as anything that's not tolled already. Okay? So you're not going to find out the Borman is getting tolled. No, that is not. If there's change to the tolls, it's going to happen on the toll road. All right? First off, what's my message to the Bears? Move to Hammond. Come over here, Kevin. Come over here, George. We're a great environment. I want to see Caleb Williams driving down Calumet Avenue, going to his house in Robertsdale. So, yes, sir.
Rick Bragg, CHGO Sports. You know, this is obviously a huge opportunity for Northwest Indiana
Yes, sir.
and their residents. But I'm curious, the fan side of it, Chicago Bears fans that may not have been expecting this to be a reality. What would you say to Bears fans that you have to reach your hand across and invite them over to our area?
We're closer. I think for a lot of, if you're on the south side of Chicago, they should be applauding this move because Arlington Heights isn't close to, and there's hundreds of thousands of Bears fans here in Northwest Indiana. I'm one of them. Arlington Heights that's a haul. And I mean, it's discouraging to hear, to me, it's discouraging to hear the Bears even considering Arlington Heights. I think if you're in downtown Chicago or on the south side of Chicago, they should be applauding this move because we're going to be much closer to you, the fan, than if the Bears moved to Arlington Heights. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. In the back.
Will the residents of Water Garden be affected?
No, ma'am. Easy answer. No, ma'am. Thank you. That was, yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, what are some of the potential roadblocks you still see that have to be overcome in order for this to become an official thing?
Sentimentality. It's a big decision for the Bears. You know, I mean, the San Francisco 49ers play in Santa Clara, right? The Dallas Cowboys play in Arlington, all right? The Kansas City Chiefs just moved to Kansas City, Kansas, right? I think that's the biggest obstacle that the Bears are facing right now is, are we comfortable with making our mailing address Hammond, Indiana? I think once they get over that and once they see all the advantages that Indiana offers, I think the decision's going to be an easy one.
What can you tell us about the $2 billion commitment that was mentioned this morning? Is that actually going towards the stadium itself, which was similar to the Arlington Heights proposal? And then second, just can you explain the ownership of the stadium, like how that will work?
No. Okay. It's not that. Maybe they intentionally left me out of the details, sir. Okay, because I do like to talk, and I'm not trying to be rude. Okay, but I can tell you this: the $2 billion or $1.5 billion that the state of Indiana is putting up, they want to get paid back, and I don't blame them. All right. So, quite frankly, we made early commitments to City of Hammond. Obviously, it's a big part of our city that we'd be potentially giving up to the Bears. Those were our commitments early on. Once the state realized we were serious, that we were good partners for them, they started negotiating these types of details, sir. And quite frankly, I don't feel it's my place if I'm not writing a check to be involved in that, you know. But I'm super happy that the state chose us. It's one of the most amazing. I've been married 22 years. This is the most amazing day of work I've ever had. So, thank you. Yeah, John.
Can you characterize your involvement in your discussions with the Bears themselves?
Sure. First off, I'm a fan. So meeting people, talking to people about moving to your city, people that you see on TV, it took a couple seconds to get over that. So, but I think I think the Bears are frustrated with what's going on in Illinois. I really do. I feel like they're tired of asking and being vilified. It hit me. I went to the playoff game. I was at the Bears-Packer game, and we were singing the fight song because we won that game. It was a good one. And when we were singing the fight song, you get to that part, it says, "The pride and joy of Illinois." And I was thinking to myself, because I'd met with the Bears ownership by then, and I was thinking to myself, they're not being treated like the pride and joy of Illinois. And I think that's a good way to sum up, in my impression, how they feel. It's just, I think they're sick and tired of it. They're sick and tired of the runaround. They are a world-class organization, and they can't get the deal done in their home state. And as soon as they come to Indiana, they get a unanimous vote, Republicans and Democrats, out of the House Ways and Means Committee. It's night and day, the treatment that the Bears are receiving in Indiana versus the treatment they're getting in Illinois, sir. Yes, sir.
How much of the Gary Airport was going to be pitched to the state?
Oh. Gary Airport's about 5 miles that way. It's
The connection to the toll road and making it easier accessible for teams flying in.
I hope so. I mean, it wouldn't make sense if you're flying in the Kansas City Chiefs. We might as well stay on that. If the Kansas City Chiefs are flying in, why would you fly into Midway or O'Hare when you got the Gary Airport right in our backyard? So I think that's a great, and I talked to Mayor Melton this morning. I appreciate him calling me and being a gentleman. And I definitely mentioned that to him. Mayor Melton, the Gary Airport is going to be a huge beneficiary of this deal. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you. Hi, Councilman.
Mayor, it's a pleasure to have you today speaking about this for our district in the city of Hammond.
Thanks, Councilman.
I'd like to know, is there any time frame about what happens next, either by the state or by the Bears? Do we have any knowledge of how that's going to play out in time frames?
I could tell you in Indiana, this bill still has to finish going through the House. That should happen relatively quickly. And then it has to be brought back over to the Senate. And I have every indication that the Senate's going to be similar to the treatment it's getting in the House because of the leaders that are involved. And then the governor's already indicated he's going to sign it. So I think the Bears already know what our deal is, and it's on their table, but it's being formalized. Okay, this is our tentative offer, but we have to go through the process. Now, I imagine Illinois is going to try to rally. It's the pride and joy of Illinois we're talking about, right? And then when Illinois puts their offer next to Indiana, I think their offer is going to pale in comparison to the offer from Indiana. And I don't think there's any way possible that Illinois can match what we offered the Bears.
Will this happen before the session ends at the end of February?
Indiana as well, I could assure you of that, Councilman. Thank you for the question. Yes, sir?
Is there a deadline for the Bears to act on the Indiana offer, or can they just sit on that for another year?
Good question. I can't tell you specifically, but I can only tell you from what I know from speaking with the Bears, they're anxious to get started. I think if they had their druthers, they'd be digging a hole this summer. I think the Bears are anxious to get this moving. So I don't think they want to sit on it, personally. Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you talk about, there still has to be other stuff acquired and such as far as, around the potential site, just what do you have in mind, or what have others maybe had in mind as far as what things surrounding the stadium, like hotels, other certain things like that? What is the vision for that, or what would be the vision for that, wherever that ends up being?
Bearsville. That's the vision. I want it to be like a section of our city. Where do you live? I live right off of Bearsville. Whatever the Bears think it could be anything they want. This is a blank slate. When the Bears and I first started talking, they said, well, where would you want the stadium? You tell us. We want you. If you want to put it on top of my house, you can have my house, right? So, I mean, it's a blank slate for them. They're going to tell us what they want, and we're going to make it happen.
You mentioned the airport. How much of a consideration would it be to make that a bigger operation than it currently is?
I can tell you for a fact, the state of Indiana is talking about that as we speak. For a fact.
Mayor, I want to go back to something you said in your opening statement. You mentioned also a practice facility.
Yes, ma'am.
Would that be part of this as well, so the Bears would no longer have, sounds like anything except for the Arlington site?
That's absolutely correct. They're talking about Hallis Hall, everything. That's breaking.
And is the drilling done? Because I know there was a picture that circulated.
Oh no, the lawyer's coming. See, you got him out.
We're gonna finish up. One more question. Last question. That's right.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Are they done with the drilling and the site survey?
I don't know if they're done, but they punched a lot of holes in the northern part of our city. So.
All right. One more question.
Yes, sir.
Zach Miller, Vineyard Sports. Has
Hey,
there
Zach.
been any conversation on what else would happen at the facility other than just football when it hosts other big events?
Absolutely. It's one of the biggest reasons it's going to be a dome. I know Speaker Houston specifically mentioned, I don't want 12 games, 13 games a year, and then it's shut down for the rest of the year. He wants it active year-round, and I agree wholeheartedly. That's one of the main reasons it's going to be a dome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate you all being here. Go Bears!
So there you heard it. There you have it from the mayor of Bearsville, Indiana.
He ends things with Go Bears,
With
right?
the Go Bears. Obviously, if you're just watching us, you're just tuning in. That was the news conference you just heard there from the mayor of Hammond, Indiana. That city's mayor is jacked up, fired up, and for obvious good reason.
I think he said it was the happiest day of his life, working-wise, right? He started it by saying Happy 219 Day. That's the thing they say. That's their area code in Hammond.
Yep.
But he said, I think this 219 Day is going to be extra special for a lot of reasons, and the Bears have a lot to do with that.
The news breaking literally in the last, and we're going to try and get out of this video, in the last several hours, obviously. That was the big part of this day. When we heard during our morning meeting, you actually were the one that pitched the story. Hey, have we heard about this? And it had to do with the Bears. It had to do with the Chicago Bears and the fact that they could be moving one step closer to Indiana, and specifically, now we know, Hammond. And I want to show folks exactly where we're talking about
Right.
because the site, a lot of people don't know, near Wolf Lake.
And I want to say we've been on this story for really months. Even last week we talked with Portage mayors when they were making their public pitch. The city wanted the Bears to move to their city. So we've been following these latest developments, but it seems like all eyes are zeroing in on Hammond right now.
On Hammond, and specifically this area, you're looking at it for the first time. Video just in. We're going to show you some more video here in just a second from an aerial view. This is the area known as Wolf Lake.
Right.
Okay. For those of you who are not familiar with the Chicago area, if you live, let's say, on the south side or near downtown, this is a half-hour drive over the border, just east of the Illinois border.
We're talking 20 to 30 miles, and you heard the mayor even say himself, listen, I ride my bike to Soldier Field.
There you go. There you go.
It's a quick bike ride away. You hop on the toll road, you're there.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys another video. This is the area where we're talking about where they're trying to millions and millions of dollars worth of infrastructure and investment to make this not just a Bears stadium here, but to make it something bigger. And they're talking about, again, a quote here, a possible Bearsville. When they say, hey, where do you live? Bearsville, Indiana. That's something that the mayor said there. That could happen, again, one step closer here. There's a lot to unpack.
And again, they said the exact location is still to be determined, but you just showed that huge area of land. That's where they want to build it. They're thinking a dome. Right, you heard the mayor mention, listen, in Chicago we get all types of weather. We don't like the idea of only being able to hold a certain amount of games and having to postpone them, whatever. So you got to have a dome, and they want an area for entertainment.
Yeah, you see, they don't want it just, they don't want this just to be like 5-6 months out of the year or a playoff run. They want this to be an entire organization, an entire operation throughout the year. And obviously with the weather, dome doesn't sound too bad here in our part of the state. Okay, look. We're talking about Northwest Indiana. This is a big deal. A lot of people talking about, oh, this is going to happen in Hammond. We didn't know. We heard Gary. We heard even Chesterton. We heard all these different places. But Hammond apparently entered the chat during the holidays.
That's right. They've been talking for a while now. I mean, one of the mayor's biggest arguments, why Hammond? You heard him say, listen, to drive to Arlington Heights, that's way out of the way when you think about driving from downtown Chicago. Yeah. Hammond, again, is only a 20 to 30 mile distance away. In fact, most people, you probably have drive by it. You could see the skyline in the distance.
There you go. He mentioned the toll road as well,
location is everything when it comes to this area.
He mentioned location, talked about the toll road, talked about the airport in Gary, talking about how these cities will work with each other. Gary's mayor even putting something out earlier today, ending it with, and I don't have it in front of me, they said, hey, Hammond, do not fumble. We're ready for the recovery. I don't think they are willing to fumble. I don't think that's the case. When you see the excitement, the energy there from the mayor. Okay. Yeah. We got a lot to talk about on the other side. We want to take a 90-second break. We want to regather our thoughts here, give you a second. If you're a Bears fan, look, if you live on the south side of town, this is much closer than that other place that they were thinking about in Illinois
and accessibility.
As well.
I mean, Soldier Field, we know the infrastructure there has not been the greatest, right? That's why they're thinking about moving in the first place. So a whole bunch of reasons, funding to be included. But you know, that traffic gets backed up quite a bit. You can't move on Lakeshore Drive.
It's gridlock. Leaving, going to, it's a lot.
So it takes a while. So to have an area where you can get in and out, listen, for a football game, what more can you ask for?
It's huge. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back here in 90 seconds and kind of wrap things up, tell you what we've heard, and also give you some soundbite from some folks there in Hammond on the ground there. Excited or not about this move? We know a lot of Bears fans are watching right now trying to figure out if this is actually going to happen. And again, we heard the question presented, what if Chicago re-enters the chat and has an even better, more compelling thing? Again, he is not thinking that's going to happen. He does not think that's a possibility. We'll see what happens. Only time will tell, but this is a major step forward. We're going to take that break. We will be back in just a second. All right. We're back. So as Bears fan, first off, personally, both of us Bears fans here, we don't want to be biased at all when we report this story. This is just what we're reporting. But we live in Indiana. Actually, it's farther from us than our hometown where we would be staying, but it's a big deal, and I think a lot of people are excited about it right now.
Can I say one thing you often hear? A lot of people leaving Chicago to move to Indiana right over the border, right, because of the perks of living in Indiana. You got taxes, things like that. But you talk about what moving this stadium would mean not only to the Chicago Bears, but to Indiana's economy as well. The mayor touched on that, right? Hammond's mayor saying this will be a really big deal for a lot of our businesses, and people will be benefiting from this.
I think this is potentially a huge benefit. You talk about across northern Indiana, northwest Indiana, as they want to dub it there. I think that's the huge part of all of this. So we want to take a step back, if we can, and walk you through a little bit of how we found everything out and why this all came together now. Because I know a lot of people who may not have been keeping up with the story are curious, why now? What just happened? So earlier today, you actually pitched in our morning meeting, hey, did you hear about this? So there was a news release put out after there was a committee vote. So we want to take you a little bit back on what this vote was all about. So there's a Senate bill, SB 27, that was presented in the Indiana State House several weeks ago. And this bill, basically it's a stadium authority is what they're calling it, that would pave the way to get everything in order for building a stadium.
Exactly.
They did not specify in this bill what the stadium was for. They just said a sports team. Obviously, I think it's the worst kept secret, it was the Bears.
Yes.
So that was presented already. That passed the Senate. Now it's in the House of Representatives, and today a key vote was held, and that key vote came back passing a committee, 24-0, that would establish the Indiana Stadium Authority. Now it has to be voted on by the State House of Representatives. Now, it's also important to mention that the person in charge of this, who authored this Stadium Authority bill, is from our area, Senator Mishler. State Senator Mishler putting out this statement. He says, I appreciate the collaboration with the Chicago Bears leadership team as we've explored the possibility of the Bears moving to Indiana. The House Committee passage of SB 27 brings us one step closer in the process, and I look forward to continue to foster our working relationship with them as we demonstrate why Indiana would be a great place for the Bears. And again, the area we're talking about is Wolf Lake, which is, again, in the area of Hammond, obviously, and it's something that we've been talking about. I'm going to show you guys some video here. But that's just to walk you a little bit through exactly how we got to this point.
Now, if you watched the Hammond mayor's press conference, there was certainly a different energy. You heard him say, again, this is the best day of my working life. The meeting this morning, oftentimes a lot of people, when they were voting, they ended their vote by saying, go Bears.
There you go.
So there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of happiness when it comes to this. This is not a negative thing that they're voting on by any means, right, for the state of Indiana.
I think right now people are going to be looking at today and they're going to say, oh, wow, the Olympic team, the women's national hockey team, they won. They won gold. Hammond won gold today.
Yeah, they did.
This is their big day, and it's going to be memorable for them for a multitude of reasons. Here's some aerial video, by the way, of the world-class stadium area that they're hoping to renovate, revitalize, and make it into something special. And I'm using a quote here from the mayor, Mayor McDermott, saying of Hammond, that he's hoping this will become whatever the Bears want it to be, but he put out the name of Bearsville.
I like it. It's sticking.
Yeah.
You know, also out of the meeting today, a lot of people have questions. Who's going to pay for this? What about the money? House Speaker Todd Houston told the committee today that the Bears have agreed to invest $2 billion to the site. Governor Braun describing the project as a public-private partnership. We heard Hammond's mayor also talk a little bit about some tax incentives, right?
He talked about several taxes, and I don't know if you can...
Innskeeper tax.
Innskeeper tax, and that will look like, for those of you who don't know, Innskeeper tax, if you stay at a hotel, you pay an Innskeeper tax, right? If you go to a B&B, things like that. That's going to go up. There are things that are going to be going up, but he also talked about the other side to this, the benefits, the jobs. He said thousands of jobs with the Bears alone. Look, it's not just the stadium here. He's also talking about where they work out, the athletic facility, potentially something more.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about a lot coming to the area
Think about
in general.
Parking alone.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You can
Stadium,
talk about the toll road, private owned, but
facilities.
you're talking about the business there. You talked about the airport
Lots
as
coming in. Another shout out he mentioned during his press conference was to Governor Mike Braun. He specifically wanted to point out, listen, I'm a Democrat. Governor Mike Braun is a Republican, but he wanted to give him credit for saying, hey, listen, thank you for working across party lines. He said he never let politics get in the way, and he applauded really his efforts to make this happen for the state of Indiana. Obviously a big possibility that the Chicago Bears will be moving here now.
I mean, when you look at this from an objective standpoint, you got to ask yourself, and he said this, not my words. The mayor says, look, there is a world-class organization involved in this. We're talking about the Chicago Bears, right? You start to think about the entire lineage and history of the Chicago Bears, the Monsters of the Midway, the 1985 team, whatever you want, right? They have not been treated like the world-class team that they believe that they
That's
are.
what he said.
So that is why he says, we want to be that place. You heard him say at the end of that news conference that if they wanted to put the stadium on top of my house, we would figure out how to make it happen. That is the excitement that they have here in Indiana to make the pathway a little bit easier in terms of finances, fiscal responsibility, and things like that. Obviously, there are more questions and answers that we've yet to figure out in terms of how long this is going to take. You're talking about the lease ending in Chicago after 2030, so there's that. They still own Arlington Heights property there. What are they going to do with that in the long term? What's going to happen? How are taxpayers going to be impacted long term, right? But at this stage, it appears the Bears are all in on making this at least an easy investment on their part as well. You're talking about a businessman in Kevin Warren and several others with that team, the owner, George McCaskey, all these guys who really want to be treated like a world-class organization, something that they say that the governor of Illinois, Governor Pritzker, and those lawmakers there have not been doing so well at this point.
Right, and listen, they want to be treated well. You heard them say they want to get things moving. So if this happens, the mayor even said, I could see shovels in the ground happening this summer.
And that's huge. And that's huge for him to say that. Look, we want to get real people a part of this now. There are some folks who we spoke to. We have not heard this sound yet, but we asked them their opinions to get their reaction to this big step. Again, nothing is official.
This is a big point of the story,
but
too.
This is big.
we talk about it,
I mean,
and we've laughed about it. Our newsroom, we have a lot of Chicago Bears fans, a lot of Chicago people in here, and they say, the Bears aren't leaving Illinois. They can't leave Chicago.
Yeah, and now there is a strong possibility that that could happen. And for obvious reasons, this mayor is excited about that being a reality. Here's some sound now from some of those fans. Watch.
It's exciting. I mean, not only do we have a quarterback and a good coach, but we actually could get here in 15 minutes. So it'd be cool. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think Chicago dropped the ball on the Bears a long time ago, and if they're going to try and keep them, I think it's a great time for them to do that. But they better step up. And if the Bears move, it's Chicago's fault.
I've lived in Northwest Indiana for 40 years, and so it's exciting from that standpoint. But as a Bears fan, you know, when we sing the fight song, they're the pride and joy of Illinois. You know, now to move them to Indiana, I can understand why Bears fans would be upset about that, and why most Bears fans would probably prefer them to stay in Illinois, and really even in Chicago. And if that's not a reality, so be it. But it is it's kind of mixed emotions for sure.
Pride and joy of Illinois, a big part of that fight zone for the Chicago Bears. And you heard the mayor of Hammond, Indiana, talking about that part. And he says Illinois is not treating them as if they're the pride and joy of that state, which is, again, you hear the excitement in his voice. As, again, objectively looking at that news conference, one can only imagine how these meetings, since he said the holidays have been going on, how he has been engaging with some of these folks and how the Bears are probably listening with certain.
He even said just to be able to talk about it today, he's kind of been silenced for a while. He said, we always knew it was going to be Hammond, but he could not talk about it. He called this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, especially for the entire state of Indiana, but really for Hammond.
This is huge. There are several things that we are trying to keep track of. Obviously, this is a ever-evolving story we've been keeping eyes on for months now, and now it seems like we have gone into a different side of this story.
True.
And this is something that we want to keep you posted on. And so obviously we're going to have the very latest on this story as it evolves continuously. What happens next in Chicago, we are keeping our eyes peeled for that. There was a meeting that was initially set today that has been canceled. The governor was shocked, saying to media there earlier this morning that he was shocked to see the statement that the Bears put out, that Todd Houston read at that committee hearing. And so these are things that we're keeping eyes on as well, because if Chicago folks were not aware, What does that tell you about the negotiations underway right now behind closed doors that apparently not even we, the media, were even clued in on because Hammond very rarely came up in conversations, even in our own newsroom.
Right. So a lot is going on. But really, we've been on top of this story for months. You better believe we're going to be following it every step of the way. What happens next? It still has a couple more moves to get through in the House. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We've got that. The House of Representatives, they have to vote. We are trying to figure out what date that could happen, how soon that could happen, obviously.
But if it's anything like today, a unanimous decision, an energetic yes to pass it through.
If it's anything similar, and the mayor says he believes that it will pass, but again, that's the mayor of Hammond. There are a lot of weird things, as you know, that happens in the Indiana State House. Nothing is promised. We want to be clear on that. But there is a chance this thing could pass officially. And once that happens, the door is officially open for things to go into motion officially. But this is a big, strong power post move, however you want to describe it, for the city of Hammond, for the state of Indiana, and obviously for the Chicago Bears and its fans, their fans. So with that, we are going to say goodbye for now. We're going to depart for now.
We have a newscast to get ready for.
We do. Do we end by saying go Bears?
We have to. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Come on.
Bears.
Come on. I love the mayor. He said, I want to see Caleb driving down Calumet Avenue in Hammond to get to a Bears game.
If that happens, if they sign this deal and they get things on, we can see a lot more than just Caleb Williams coming here.
That's true.
Which is huge. We'll see what happens, and as things evolve, you'll be up to date because we're going to keep you up to date. Nobody else has the coverage that we have. So we appreciate you watching wherever you stream right now. We're going to have the very latest on WNDU here in South Bend. It is 4:42 right now. We'll be on the air. Our team will start at around 5 o'clock, 5:30, and then Lauren and I will see you at 6 o'clock with very latest information about this breaking news story. The Bears moving one step closer to striking a deal, a stadium deal here in the state of Indiana. So long for now. We will see you soon.
Go Bears.